What's up, Lost Boys? Here we are for another recap video. This time it's going to be week 6, and if we're being honest, it was a shitty week at that. I mean, Red Zone was boring as hell, NFL was boring as hell. There were a couple upsets. Eagles lost, Niners lost, Bills should have lost. But let's be real, terrible quarterback play, terrible officiating has kind of taken over the NFL. There was no exciting, really, offenses this week in fantasy. Felt that this week with low scores across the board. Not really any exciting games other than maybe Cass and Cal. But let's get into the games. We're going to start with our game of the week from last week. Our first place versus second place team. Jace versus Josh, brother versus brother. This was billed as an epic matchup and took a dump. Josh died on the table. Jace smoked his ass by almost 30 points. Jace got started off the right way with almost 20 points from Justin Tucker, which is a great way to start in that London game. But that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not really much to talk about. Josh's team is really hurting without Justin Jefferson. This was the first week without JJ. Not only did he lose Justin Jefferson, but Kirk Cousins looks like he's a corpse without his number one weapon. And then other than that, Josh tried to pick up Mary DeMarcado. He died, so he did nothing. And Josh's team looks like it's in bad shape. It started out 4-0. Now they've lost 2 in a row. Devonte Adams hasn't done anything. He looks like more of a decoy out there. So our former 4-0 team is on the downside. On the flip side, Jace is now 5-1. He has the most points in the league by almost 100 points. These two teams couldn't be going in farther different directions. Jace is rolling, he's rolling, he's rolling. Yes, he did lose Achane, but he still has Kamara that he had those 3-game suspension. Kamara's looking really good. His receivers are looking pretty good. Diggs seems to do well every night. I mean, Jalen Hurts had a bad game, and he still scored Jace 20 points. Dak got him some rushing yards and a rushing touchdown finally. But in general, Jace's team just looks strong. So he took down Josh. He keeps first place, and he is rolling. Next game we're going to get into is Tim versus Barreto. This was a battle, but it never really got super close. Tim's team, as I said last week, I like Tim's team a lot. He's got a lot of good guys. I said last week in video, teens, 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 teens. Well, deja vu. Literally, look at Tim's team. It's teens across the board. He had one guy score over 20 points, including his quarterbacks, and it was his quarterback Tua. Other than that, not a single guy got in the 20s, but it was just boom, 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 boom. All these guys, Tim's team is loaded with guys that do really, really good. And that is actually probably the most dangerous team because if one guy does bad, he knows the rest of his team can hold him up. Brees Hall's finally coming around. He cashed in with Justin Jefferson's injury because he has Jordan Addison. He caught a touchdown this week. Brian Robinson's been a surprise this week. Just in general, Brock Purdy finally came back down to earth, only got him 7 points. Tim still put up 151 points. So Tim's team's looking really good. On the flip side, Justin, he's not doing too good. He's lost 3 in a row. He has gotten nothing from the trade since he did that trade with Pat. He cannot seem to get his QB2 right. He puts in Burrow, Burrow sucks. He puts in Stroud, Stroud sucks. He put Burrow back in this week, he sucked. Even Allen didn't do good. I mean, Justin's team, he has to have Allen go off. He has to have Mostert go off. He has to have Pacheco do good. Mostert did good. I mean, that's why it's a frustrating week for Justin. If you lose with your running back scoring almost 33 points, I mean, I don't think my running backs have scored 33 points combined all year, which shows you something. Justin's getting that almost every other week from Mostert, and he's down to 2-4. So Justin needs to tweak some stuff. He cannot rely so much on Mostert and Josh Allen. He needs to maybe look and tweak his lineup a little bit. But Tim is looking strong going forward. Tim moves to 3-3. Justin falls to 2-4. Next game, we're going to go Denny versus Roman. So this was a pretty crappy game, similar to Josh and Jace. Roman didn't really play very well. He put up 130 points, but Denny died 105. Talking about Denny real quick. Last week, Denny got 100 points combined from George Kittle, Jamar Chase, and his second quarterback. This week, combined, George Kittle, Jamar Chase, his second quarterback, 18 points. I mean, we're talking about 82-point difference right there. And that's Denny's team. That's what I mentioned last week. His studs crushed it, but Denny's going to have to win with his studs. Chase has to go off. Garrett Wilson's going to have to go off some weeks. He lost Deebo Samuel this week during the game, so that really hurt him. I mean, Chuba Hubbard did all right. Kenneth Walker did all right. But Kittle got him 6 yards. 6 yards after catching 3 balls for 3 touchdowns last week. Got him 6 yards. So Denny's team really didn't perform this week. Baker Mayfield took a dump. On the flip side, Roman, he did pretty good. I mean, Sam Howell is looking. One of my predictions at the beginning of the season was a crazy. Sam Howell is going to be top 10 quarterback this year, and so far he's lived up to the billing. He does pretty well almost every single week. A lot of garbage, but it's working. He has Keenan Allen, which Keenan Allen is, I think, wide receiver 2, maybe wide receiver 1 right now. But he's plowing the Rams. Cooper Kupp, Nakua. Nakua dropped the touchdown, which would have made Matt's score look even better. Bijan still hasn't gotten rolling yet. But Matt did take 2 injuries this week. David Montgomery hurt his ribs, and I think Kyren Williams hurt his ankle. Both guys are looking to be out next week for sure. I think they're saying Kyron's out for about 4 weeks, David Montgomery 2 to 3 weeks. So that definitely is a blow to Matt, but his team is pretty deep. I think he'll be all right, but kind of a rough blow to him. He still gets the win. Matt moves to 3-3, then he falls to 2-4. Next game, we're going to go Cal versus Cass. This was a big one because, both guys went into the game 2-3. Cass really needed this dub, and this was our closest game of the week. And Cal conceded the game early in the Monday night game last night. And Pollard almost pulled it out for him. I mean, if Pollard would have taken that pass all the way to the end zone, Cal had a really, really good shot to win. Unfortunately, he got caught from behind, which I don't even know how that happened. He didn't take the angle. It was a really weird situation, and Cal ends up losing by 10. We'll start with Cal. Cal, his team is 2-4, which is brutal. He's in last place tied with Denny and Barreto. But it's kind of a weird situation. Cal's team, I mean, he has maybe the best pick of the whole league with Adam Thielen. I think Adam Thielen's number 3 wide receiver. He's getting him 20-plus points every week. To be able to pluck that and get that in your lineup every week from a garbage time guy should mean you are crushing it. Unfortunately for Cal, the rest of his guys just aren't doing very well. Mahomes is not getting you what you drafted him for, which is brutal. He's barely breaking 20 points some weeks. Bryce Young is awful. You can't be starting Bryce Young. Rashard White had a good start to the season, but he has fell off. And Tony Pollard did okay last night, like I mentioned, but Tony Pollard was his second pick, and he is not getting Cal what he needed. So Cal's going to need more from his studs. Mahomes has to step it up, but I don't think he's going to have to with how good our defense is. Pollard's going to have to score some stuff. So Cal, he's looking for a couple different things to help. Cass on the flip side definitely needed this win. This was a big thing. A lot of, kind of like Tim's team, a lot of teens. He got, decent game from Stafford, decent game from Herbert. CeeDee Lamb got him a lot of yards and a lot of receptions last night. McCaffrey got hurt, though. This is the big thing. Cass's team, he's been getting at least 20 to 30 points a week from McCaffrey. Now he's hurt. It's looking like he might be out 2 to 4 weeks, which is going to be brutal for Cass. He already was weak at running back. We'll see how he replaces McCaffrey. Derrick Henry finally got into the end zone. We'll see if Henry can get rolling. But in general, Cass got a big dub against Cal. He needed this win, and like everyone else in the league, he's still in the hunt. Next, we're going to go to our final game. We had Ryan versus Pat. This was the one I was most looking forward to seeing. Pat was 2-3 going into this game. Ryan was 3-2 going into this game, and I was pumping Ryan. I mean, I thought he was going to get rolling. He had somehow managed to get through all these injuries and everything that happened to his running backs of the season. And he ended up being, 3-2, and he got Jonathan Taylor back. He got Austin Eckler back. Saquon Barkley's back. And he lost. And not only did he lose, he only put up 100 points. Well, that happens when Justin Fields gets hurt, puts up 4. Russell Wilson puts up 6. DJ Moore goes from putting up 45 points last week or whatever it was to 7 this week. Gabe Davis won 1 point. Ryan's team, he's been getting a billion points from Sam Laporta every week. It's been a huge boost for him. He only got him 5. So Ryan's team kind of hit a wall. I still like Ryan's team a lot. He's got a ton of talent with the running backs, but he needs Fields, and he needs Fields to stay healthy. He hurt his thumb. We'll see if he's going to continue to start. But Ryan's team will bounce back. He falls to 3-3. On the flip side, Pat got a huge win. Early in the year, he lost Nick Chubb. He had been kind of on a downfall, and now all of a sudden he's sitting at 3-3. He's right in the middle of the standings. Trevor Lawrence, Geno Smith. Geno Smith should have had a way better day. Pat should have hit maybe 160, 170 this week. Geno took a dump in the red zone multiple times, but Pat, he has two monsters, Travis Etienne and Tyreek Hill. Etienne has elevated himself to maybe a top 3 running back going forward as long as he stays healthy. They feed him the ball in the passing game, they feed him the ball in the red zone, they feed him the ball in the running game. So he's always going to get the ball. Zay Flowers finally got his first touchdown. Kyle Pitts is finally getting involved in the office, which is really, really big for Pat. Christian Kirk, he's catching balls. He's kind of taking away some of those targets from Ridley, and it looks like Trevor Lawrence loves hitting some Christian Kirk like he did last year. So Pat has the connection right there. And this is all happening without Devontae Smith really doing anything. Devontae Smith has really done nothing the last 3 games. He's eventually going to get rolling right now. So I really like Pat's team going forward. He gets a big win. He goes to 3-3, and Ryan is now 3-3. So real quick, we're going to look at the standings, and then we're going to look at the matchups for this week. So right now we have standings. Jace is still in first. He's 5-1. He's crushing points. He's clearly the best team in the league. Josh is at 4-2. He's lost 2 in a row though. His point lead is gone. He now has like the 6th most points in the league. He hasn't done anything. He's really hurt by Justin Scherzer. Then we have 5 teams at 3-3, and then 3 more at 2-4. It's crazy. 1 win against your opponent below you, or vice versa, and you flip-flop spots with them in our league. So this is the closest our league has ever been. Points are going to be key. So your team, if you're losing, as long as you're putting up points, that's the most important thing. This week we have, like every week it seems like, we have a lot of awesome matchups. Josh versus Matt. Josh is on a losing streak right now. Matt lost a couple guys to injury, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm going to give the edge to Matt. I think he takes it. I think so. Hal and Daniel Jones play each other this week. I think that's going to be a shootout because both teams kind of had crappy defenses, and I think Matt overcomes his injuries. I think the St. Louis guys somehow managed to score, and I just think we've all been in those fantasy ruts. I think Josh is in a rut right now. I think he's gonna, eventually pull out of it later, but now is not that time. Matt takes a dub against Josh this week. Next game, we're gonna go Tim versus Pat. My game of the week. Both 3-3 teams. Both teams looking strong. I'm gonna give the edge to Tim. I think this game comes down to something as simple as A.J. Brown versus Devontae Smith. Whichever guy comes through more. It's been A.J. Brown the last 4 weeks. He's been #1 fantasy wide receiver in the league the last 4 weeks. He's gotten 125 games, 25 yards, 4 games in a row. If Devontae Smith can outscore A.J. Brown, Pat will win this game. That's my prediction. We'll see if it happens. I'm going to give the edge to Tim, though, in this one. Denny versus Lama. Ryan. Tough one. Tough matchup for Denny. I'm going to give the edge to Ryan. I like Ryan's team a lot. Denny's team has to get monster games from Chase. He has to have Garrett Wilson bring him back. He has to have Kenneth Walker's been great this season, but instead of getting him 60 yards and a touchdown, maybe 150 yards and a touchdown. We'll see. I think just Ryan's gonna have all his guys. He's gonna have Eckler. He's gonna have Barkley. He's gonna have Jonathan Taylor. He's gonna start all of his first 3 picks. This is the first time all year he's gonna be able to start all 3 of those guys, and I think it gets him a win. 4th game is going to be Cal versus Barreto. This is a monster game. Battle of the turds at the bottom of the standings. But there is no really bottom of the standings because everyone's separated by 1 game. This is a huge game for these guys. Both of them have to have the win. I'm going to give the edge to Cal this week. And the reason I'm going to give the edge to Cal is because I finally think Mahomes has a Mahomes game. I'm talking 30 fantasy points. He comes out. We played the Chargers. I don't think even the Chargers are going to score a lot because I think our defense is going to come out even better than before we get Chief Steve gets Charles O back this week. But I think Mahomes wants to prove something. It's at Arrowhead. He comes out firing. I think Cal's quarterback difference helps him take over Justin because he matches Justin's Josh Allen this week. And we'll see. If Pacheco can kind of keep Barreto close, you never know what can happen. But I'm going to give the edge to Cal this week. And last but not least, you got Cass versus our first place juggernaut, Jace. This is a monster game, absolute monster game. Jace has been on fire. His team is rolling. His running backs are doing well. Kamara's catching 9,000 balls a game. His wide receivers, Chris Olave is doing well. All of his, Ridley hasn't gotten to the end zone, but he's doing pretty good. And Diggs seems to get a touchdown every single week. Dak got it rolling this past week. And Jalen Hurts, he can have a bad game and still score you 20 fantasy points because of his legs. So on the flip side, Cass needs this dub. He got the win last week. His guys are slowly coming around, but I'm going to give the edge to Jace. I just think his team is too good right now. He's feeling too good. He's got the vibes. And the biggest factor here is Cass lost McCaffrey. Like, Cass lost the number one fantasy weapon in fantasy football. It's tough to lose that weapon and then go play the first place team and be able to beat them. So those are my predictions, guys. Fantasy has been crazy this year. Let's hope the NFL steps up their game because the product on the field has been pretty fucking terrible the last couple weeks. So we'll see how it starts out this Thursday night football. I don't even really know who is playing Thursday night. It'll probably be a shit show anyway. So I think it's like Jacksonville versus someone. But anyway, guys, I love you. Have a good day. Chiefs, Bears.